Have you always wanted to start your own YouTube channel, but for whatever reason, you've been holding back for the longest time? Well, let's talk a little bit about my experience. I've been uploading YouTube videos to this channel on and off for about 5.5 years now, and I thought I'd share the ways that this channel has helped me out, and hopefully it'll give at least one person the push to get started. To start things off, I believe YouTube is a really good way for you to express yourself a bit more authentically. And what I mean by that is you might find yourself in your day-to-day life when you interact with people in the real world, and you might have a certain level of interest in a certain topic that you feel like you can't really express to your full extent because, like usually people around you don't really have that same level of interest and you don't want to bore them with that detail. Basically, what I found is using YouTube as an outlet to express whatever it is that you're passionate about is usually like a really good way to basically express that, if that makes sense. I'll give a bit of a real life example here, and that was growing up during my teenage years when I was getting into Pokemon, for example. Usually around this age though, everybody was going off of it because it was kind of considered the kiddie thing. Yet I was only just getting into it around this time, and I had like a friend that was also interested in Pokemon, but I kind of took that as a sign to think that I could just talk about it non-stop with them, and obviously eventually it got kind of boring for them. Yeah, understandably so. No one really wants to hear you rant about a very specific topic for hours on end. But if you're doing it in the context of a video that you put out on the internet for the whole world to see, then there's going to be people out there that will in fact want to hear what you have to say for hours on end. So yeah, you attract very like-minded individuals that share common interests, even if it's around the world. As much as I might be a small channel as of the time of writing this video, at least 900 people out there have cared about what I had to say, which just blows my mind when you think about it. And also the fact that most of them aren't even from the UK as well, so the fact that I've made content that has resonated with people from across the world is just kind of a mind-blowing thing to think about, especially with like how everything is so much more digital nowadays, and you think about back then when we didn't have YouTube, did people really have this opportunity to express themselves like this? Probably not. And if so, it probably wouldn't have been as easy. Even then, if you're thinking about how what you think you have to say doesn't really appeal to the people around you, and as a result you might get people that might take the mick or think it's like stupid or whatever, then you don't really need to care about what they think anyway, because chances are they don't really have something else going on in their lives that they are working towards, and you're kind of above them in that sense. I think because of how corporatized YouTube has become nowadays, where a lot of people do kind of use it as a career sort of outlet, I think it is easy to sort of lose sight of that spirit that it had when it started out, where it was just people posting content for fun and just expressing themselves. Like, it used to have that tagline of broadcast yourself underneath it. I think this is why those of us that are just using our channels as a way to express our interests are actually kind of at an advantage. Even from a numbers perspective, it might not seem that way, but I do think audiences are trying to seek out that more sort of people just posting content sort of to talk about what they're obsessed with and interested in for the sake of posting it, really, and not really having that sort of ulterior motive of trying to make money out of it or whatever, which there's nothing wrong with wanting to make money, of course, but I think audiences can blatantly tell when you're just in it for the money. I mean, I've not even made a single penny out of this channel in the 5.5 years that I've been doing it, and here I am still every now and then uploading whenever I have something to say. Another big reason why I think starting a YouTube channel would benefit you greatly is that you end up learning new skills from it, both technical and personal. From the technical side, from my experience, I believe I have improved my writing abilities because most of my videos that I do, I prepare a script to record in advance. And then obviously you've got the recording process itself where you're using different types of equipment. And then you got the editing, which is a very steep learning curve at first, but obviously I've been doing it for quite a few years before YouTube because I did media production at college. And yeah, I thought I'd just combine what I learned back then with my interest in sort of Nintendo to sort of combine it into something that I can look back on and be proud of. In terms of interpersonal skills as well, I believe using my voice to sort of talk behind this mic has given me a lot better understanding of public speaking. There's also the potential for you to collaborate with other creators as well. Like, I think I've done that a couple of occasions. I kind of wish I could do that a little bit more, actually, now that I think about it. I need to sort of put myself out there a bit more in terms of content creators in a similar niche. And also, it's taking feedback on board. Because obviously a lot of my videos, I do get comments of people that would like to offer some constructive criticism on how they think the quality of my videos could be improved. And that's something that I greatly appreciate because it allows me to make the videos even better. And you're able to kind of take these feedback on board and sort of distinguish between taking certain things personally and knowing when it's good in the long run. I think what you'll find as well once you get started is that you kind of gain a sense of purpose, if that makes sense. And I don't know if that's going to sound a bit deep, but the idea of building up a community, it gives you a strong incentive to set goals for yourself, which is something that you always want to have in life. Because if you don't have a goal, then you're not really sure what you're doing with yourself, and that can be a very easy way to fall into a depressive state. Like, you need to have something to sort of focus your mind on, and something that's going to make you look forward to getting up in the morning, if that makes sense. Now, next up, we've got this big pitfall that I think a lot of people who try to do YouTube end up falling into, and it's that potential for monetary success. Now, there are two ways of looking at this, because obviously you might get yourself in that mindset of wanting to make YouTube your job after seeing all these people out there that find huge success and they make a living out of it, and if not, they even go beyond what you would be earning in a typical job. And it can be very disheartening if you feel like you're not quite there yet, and comparison is the thief of all joy, this thing. I think I even fell into this once because I made a video a few years back that really did take off, and it was just me sort of expressing my enthusiasm for Xenoblade Chronicles and just wanting to share that with the world. And the thing is, like, it did resonate with a lot of people, clearly, because I was just showing my love for this game. And it kind of ties back into what I'm saying at the start about just expressing what you're interested in and not really get caught up in whether you're going to get loads of views out of it or you're going to acquire fame over it. But I think when you find yourself in that mindset where any videos that you make after one got particularly successful, you start to feel a bit disheartened, and then as a result you're kind of resenting the very thing you were interested in, and you kind of lose sight of why you wanted to make videos in the first place. That's probably why I end up taking breaks for months off this channel. I'm not very consistent, and that's probably why. So I myself need to get back into remembering why I started, and it was just because I was really excited to talk about Nintendo with the world. Now, the other way of looking at this is maybe the monetary potential is an incentive to do YouTube, and you can kind of channel that in a way that can work out if you do so in moderation. And I'm sure if you're a UK citizen in this generation, as well as many other places around the world, the sort of job market and cost of living situation isn't really ideal. Many people are kind of finding out that the jobs that they currently work at probably aren't paying them enough to be able to live to the new sort of living standard. Like, a lot of our generation are still living with our parents into our late 20s, when back then you probably moved out by the time you were 18. And obviously I'm not going to get into like any sort of politics or economics as to why that is, but YouTube, having that as a secondary source of income, could come in handy, even if it doesn't really pay anything at first, I imagine. I mean, I wouldn't know, I'm not even monetized myself. But I guess if you are earning just a little bit off of YouTube, then maybe there's less financial stress compared to if you weren't earning off it at all. Either way, I guess it's a nice thing to have regardless of your motives, so you can't really go wrong, really. Anyway, I think that just about does it for my experiences and why I think you should give YouTube a go. I hope what I've had to say has helped in some way. Also, if you're someone who is also creating content and trying to build your own channel up, feel free to comment anything you think I may have missed, so that this comment section can be somewhat of a motivational thread. And good luck to anyone out there that has decided to get started.